The concepts of enlightenment, awakening, awareness, truth, and even God or source consciousness all have very different connotations when looked at across the range of different religious, spiritual, and philosophical interpretations which have spanned human history. Now, why is this? Why is it that if you look for one definition of enlightenment, you just can't find it? Because within every single niche, every single religion, every single belief system, there is a subjective interpretation of that truth. Everyone seems to think that they have the key to enlightenment or they have the portal to higher consciousness. But how can that be different when looked at through the lens of every single philosophical way? This holds the key to this awareness. That enlightenment is something universal, but also very individual in nature. And that if we try to seek enlightenment by attaching to an external source of understanding enlightenment, we're only going to be perceiving enlightenment through a particular stream of consciousness. Not the whole truth, but a facet of the truth, which holds important meaning about the status of consciousness and how it needs to expand as a whole. First of all, let's break down the concept of enlightenment, how it's usually perceived, and how this might actually be a purely subjective process of integration which doesn't need to include elaborate attachment to external ideals. If we're to speak about enlightenment of the self, this process occurs deep in our psyche. Carl Jung referred to the process of enlightenment as essentially merging with the shadow, making the unconscious conscious, or exposing the shadow self by choosing to bring light to the previously unknown aspects of our psyche. Now, how can we do this? It sounds difficult, and truly it is some of the most difficult work we can do across our lifetime. But it requires dedication to the process of enlightenment is not something that is achieved superficially and through an easy route to spiritual awareness. It rather happens through deep ascension, through the touch point of our own consciousness, and through our choosing to access the darkest, most triggering parts of our being. Enlightenment could feel a little bit like this. You move into the world and you start to encounter certain triggers. Let's say you experience a lot of harsh judgment of things around you. Maybe you have certain conflicts, negative patterns keep coming up. Maybe you attract certain people which are very toxic in nature and don't help you to experience a reality of love and oneness that you want to be feeling. If you're to ask yourself the question, why am I experiencing this in my external world? Why am I being triggered by these certain elements, and how are they maybe connected to an essential part of me that I'm not currently seeing about myself? You may start to unravel the root of this unconsciousness by understanding the root cause of every single thing that you're currently dealing with in the outer sphere of your reality. You may start to remember maybe a time in your early childhood when you dealt with a similar pattern, or maybe when the people that you're currently dealing with first presented in your inner sphere of awareness through a certain energy, a certain thought, expectation, or a space of inner resistance which you're now continuing to manifest because you're still harboring the initial suppressed emotions of either shame, guilt, or fear that are still perpetuated in your subconscious mind. If you think about enlightenment as a process of deep inner integration, you can see how every single thing happening to you is actually happening for the expansion of your consciousness. And different unwanted elements in your reality will continue to occur because you're currently not seeing how they're an expression of you, how you're continuously manifesting them by not seeing these things that are actually intended for your enlightenment. In this way, we can look at the entire reality we're experiencing as a holographic simulation of our consciousness. In this way, we can see that only by taking ownership over our entire psyche and everything that it is expressing in the physical reality that we see and observe and interact with, can we realize that this is all happening for us. That the world we're experiencing is actually unique to us because no other person is going to be manifesting the same look and feel and system of responding to reality as us. To enlighten to reality is to realize that we're actually creating this system through a sophisticated algorithm within our own consciousness. And everything that is happening is in some way something that we are actually expecting on a deeply subconscious level. Because remember, your subconscious is ruling about 95% of your entire life, meaning that you're not able to comprehend why exactly you're manifesting the things that you are. But through honing into your responses and integrating your conscious and subconscious mind in a way that you become the superconscious mind or creator of this experience, you'll begin to see that you can actually begin to control the way that things feel in your inner world to change the way that things are expressed in your outer state of reality. Now, for millennia, religions have not been bringing people into a state of integration. If we think about it, the kind of religious models that have evoked fear in people or placed God as a separate being outside of our consciousness, making us revere either an idol or a prophet or an ascended master or some sort of a being that is bringing us the higher truth, puts that divine source of truth on a pedestal from our conscious awareness. And that's a very dangerous kind of a way of understanding divinity, because as soon as you place divinity outside of you, that divinity has, in a way, control over you. It has the ability to coerce you to think in a way that is actually disintegrated, because if you stop seeing the divinity within you, you become a subject for control. You become the ideal kind of individual to be brainwashed to believe anything that idol or belief system creator is trying to make you believe. This is how cults form. This is how, actually, a lot of disillusionment enters the spiritual arena as people start believing more in the idea of enlightenment, brought about by a certain spiritual being who claims to be enlightened, rather than bringing enlightenment to the self. I believe the only way to bring enlightenment to the masses is through informing every single individual that they are the source of their own enlightenment. That enlightenment is actually the process of carefully integrating with the whole truth by coming to expand your consciousness and to see yourself as this fractal of source. We are all vessels of enlightenment, as we are all units of consciousness expressing in the physical to help the divine, the one source of absolute truth, find deeper integration in the physical. We can even go as far as to say that we are all in the third dimensional space in order to help our higher selves ascend into even higher states of being. Now that's a really fascinating thought, isn't it? Because if you think about your current state as being the lesser state, but you're actually ascended on a higher level, then it's your higher self guiding you through the process of enlightenment. There's actually a version of you that is enlightenment. And every time you receive a certain intuitive hit, a download, a vision, a creative thought, or intention that seems to be downloaded from outside of you, that might just be your higher ascended version of self helping you connect the dots so that you can become more enlightened by allowing yourself to perceive in terms of the higher dimensional truth that you already embody. That being said, let's think about how we can apply this awareness of what it means to be truly integrated, aware, and enlightened in terms of trying to integrate and expand more in the third dimensional space, how we can come to discern more carefully about the spiritual beliefs and ideals that might be presented to us outside of us. Any belief system, religion, or ideology which promotes separation through the creation of more fear, or dogma, or beliefs that instill in you a feeling that you need to be a subordinate within your reality, puts you at odds with the goal. It puts you in a state of separation from your true self. And it makes you feel like you can't access this higher truth on your own, that you need to be turning to some external authority, which might be just trying to get more followers for the perpetuation of these beliefs. This is the old world. If you want to listen to my video on that, I posted it last week, where I talked about essentially the creation of a new Earth system in which every being becomes acknowledging of their own sovereignty and starts spreading the message of oneness through the integration of their own unique sense of self. This is the only way that we can start to enlighten as a collective, when every single individual takes ownership over their own consciousness and reclaims their power to be this vessel of truth by learning to integrate from within and without. However, what we often see in the spiritual space is a lot of spiritual elitism. This is what I call the people that essentially try to claim they're enlightened without doing the deep inner work. The way that we can discern these people from actually integrated spiritual beings is by understanding the intentions behind what they're doing. Are these spiritual teachers or gurus or prophets claiming to bring people together by helping them heal from within? Or are they just trying to sell a certain method of thinking or belief in order to create a system of followers? Is the thinking promoted by these teachers helping followers learn to see the source within them, or is it just helping them attach to a belief system outside of them which they are supposed to know as the truth? This is the old form of indoctrination which is truly outdated in nature. We should learn to see now that we're stepping into a time when we can learn to find integration between every belief system, every ideology, every religion, without needing to see one system as the holder of the whole truth. Because that is the very nature of integration. It's seeing the truth in all things. And it's learning to see that when you operate in a higher frequency of love and oneness, you can easily rise above the need to be part of any philosophy that aims to dissuade people through more fear, separation, and control. False light in the spiritual space essentially looks like the creation of light to entrap people in a system of separation. It's the creation of duality consciousness in a way that is very hidden in nature, where you may be taught something like the belief in non-duality or oneness or enlightenment, but actually you are doing this to serve the self. You are doing this not to enlighten truly from within by doing the deeper work of integration, but by just believing in enlightenment. So for example, this could look like choosing to believe that by following a certain ascended being or embodying a certain system of thought, that you naturally become enlightened. So by becoming subservient to the creation of a certain philosophy, you are becoming enlightened. But actually what that's doing is it's keeping you hostage to your inner self. It's keeping you more deeply enmeshed with your own shadow. It's keeping you away from the truth that you hold within yourself and from your higher self's connection, because what you're doing is just believing that this external authority, providing you with promising awareness that gives you this shortcut to enlightenment, that's actually going to be serving you. But the truth is it's not. It's just helping this egregore, or this collective consciousness created by the false light teacher, gain more support, gain more light. But really what that's doing is it's creating more density in the unconsciousness. It's creating deeper faith in the unconsciousness that is being perpetuated by the teachings, keeping people away from the source of true enlightenment. Sadly, there is a lot of narcissism and spiritual egotism that continues to line the spiritual space. There are many people that do this work not out of a genuine agenda to help people, but out of a desire to spread enlightening teachings to feel like they are enlightened, when really they're just trying to feel the exalted sense of self to nurture their ego and to feel bigger than they actually are. This idea of being godlike in nature is something that is very popular because to feel like a god means to feel superior above other people. But that doesn't actually involve transcendence of the ego, and that certainly does not mean embodying the truth of love to experience unity consciousness in the 3D world. Enlightenment is a humble state of surrender to what currently is. It's a state of choosing to walk the path of life, just trying to learn more, experience more, love more, and feel more connection to the entire world. It's a desire to embody what the planet really seeks, which is peace, egalitarianism, and truth coming through simple compassion and empathy. These simple values hold a lot of truth about what the world needs. And yet, within the spiritual space of false light and these illusory enlightenment teachings, very little is said about actually bringing people together into the heart and through the compassionate spreading of more kindness and oneness. Many false light teachings are just promoting feeling good, feeling ascended, and then moving into the sheltered reality of your own ego's governance and feeling like you have gotten the truth, which is why you should stop expanding, stop looking for more answers, stop learning, making you a hostage to your own unconsciousness. Discern wisely, because there will always be another view of enlightenment to be found. There are many people who claim to have these answers, but you'll be able to pick up on a deeply intrinsic level if the answers are bringing you toward more love, integration, and truth of your higher self, or not if you truly learn to confide in your inner knowing. Your inner knowing is that place of true oneness, because within that space, there is no ego to be found. There is no need to prove your enlightenment to anyone when you're just calibrating your sense of enlightenment based on how deeply you want to know yourself and fall in love with the entire universe at large. If you can come to see enlightenment as an expression of how deeply aligned you feel with the entirety of your existence, you will come to see that more enlightenment just means more vulnerability with yourself. If you seek enlightenment, you're going to find distraction. You're going to find a lot of false light teachings and teachers claiming that they can bring you into this exalted state of being just if you follow their desired intentions. If you allow yourself to become subservient, you will never find the truth within your own soul. You will always feel like you have to fuel somebody else's mission of enlightenment in order to catch up yourself. But that is still done through the distorted lens of the ego. If you stop seeking enlightenment, you will start truly being. You will start thinking about why so many people are looking for routes to enlightenment when really the light is in the here and now. You are right here, able to access more awareness than you can ever imagine. Just by opening your mind, by truly sinking into this present moment, feeling deeply into your body, and asking your souls the questions that you want to receive answers to. There's so much truth to be found in this state of simple surrender and in trusting your deep knowing, which allows you to cut through the illusions of the modern day spiritual space to figure out what spirituality means on a deep inner level. My view on spirituality is that it is about integration. It's about finding yourself physically and metaphysically balanced, finding yourself spiritually and physically whole, mentally and emotionally calibrated, in the masculine and in the feminine energy, to see how both truths, both polarities, both sides of any equation always point to the one truth. So no one being could be claimed to be God. No one master could hold all the truth. Everyone and everything is pointing you toward the truth that you are seeking, but you just must stay open-minded to enlighten yourself enough to perceive the truth and all that is, and to find it within.